You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, April 7th show. It is a great day to talk about money, and that's what you'll receive from listening to the show, how to make money, save money, and have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the amazing guests that I have in studio. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Patrick Hayes and Mike Pattison with Master Builders Association. And we're going to be talking about the housing shortage. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming in today.
Thanks for having us, Tina.
Yeah, thank you.
And a little bit about Patrick and Mike. Patrick is the VP of Superior Slab Jacking. He's a state director and serves on the executive committee of the Building Industry Association of Washington for 9 years. He is currently the membership manager of the Master Builder Association in King and Snohomish County. Patrick has served on the board of directors of Master Builders Association as well as Skagit Island County Builder Association. And Patrick, thank you. A shout out for everything that you're doing for Master Builders, because a lot of great stuff you guys are doing over there. So thank you.
No, thank you, Tina.
And a little bit about Mike. Mike Pattison is Government Affairs Manager with Master Builders Association in King and Snohomish counties. He previously has served as a lobbyist for the Realtors Association and worked at the State Housing of Representatives. Mike is a Seattle native and graduate from Seattle University. And Mike, thank you for you too. I think sometimes people don't know what it really takes to do the things that you guys are doing and really protect homeownership and protect the industry and what's happening. So again, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, our pleasure. Providing affordable housing is what the Master Builders is all about.
Yes, and if we ever needed it, now the time, that would be right now. So we're going to have a conversation a little bit about the housing shortage, an extension from what I did for Money Chat. And Mike, what is causing housing prices to rise so dramatically?
Yeah, it's really a simple equation. There's too little inventory right now. There is less than 1 month inventory on the market, and that's really remarkable for anyone that's in real estate or knows anything about it. We have never seen such low inventory numbers, and that's not just the Seattle area. That's the region. We have less than a month's supply. We have a huge immigration of new buyers. We are growing in the Puget Sound region by literally another Kirkland every year. So just imagine how much pressure that puts on the job market. And these aren't low wage workers. They're high wage workers chasing too few homes. And as you would expect, we're seeing skyrocketing housing prices as a result.
Yeah, and I know that some neighborhoods have actually had like a day of inventory, meaning that if somebody doesn't list their home in one day, that neighborhood will literally have no homes.
That's exactly right. In fact, I was just speaking with one of our large builders yesterday, and she told me that they are selling all of their new homes within 2 days.
Yeah.
So and there's a rush, and it's because there's so little inventory.
Yeah, and I've been in the mortgage industry for over 2 decades, and just like you said, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. You always think by then you've seen everything, you've been in every market, but not so far. Now it's a new one again. So, Mike, why is there so little housing inventory on the market? What's another?
We have too little land. We've built on all the easy land. You may drive by a space and see, oh, there's a place for housing, but it might be constrained by environmental protections or steep slopes, or you just can't get sewer to it. So there is really too little land for us to build on, for one. And then in many jurisdictions, they're not allowing the kind of density we need to house everybody. Some jurisdictions are doing a great job. Drive through Ballard, and they're doing what needs to be done to accommodate all our new growth. But other cities and towns are maybe only allowing one unit per acre. So we're working really hard to try and educate all of our elected officials in these towns that we've got to do this together. And we're not going to get anywhere with affordability if we don't allow sensible densities in our communities.
So it really is going to take a true team effort to really pull the powers together to all come to the same agreement on a solution to help us here.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We have what's called the Puget Sound Regional Council, which is a forum for that kind of discussion.
Okay.
And we need, as master builders and our cities and our electeds, we all need to do a better job coming together, identifying the problem, putting on a number on how much housing we need, and just going out and doing it.
Yes.
Sounds simple, but it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of pushback. Not everyone wants
Well, I
to
was going
see.
to say, when you have different people and different organizations that are wanting different things, or they think that their solution is the better solution,
That's
you're
right.
not really getting anything accomplished.
That's right. And there are a lot of existing neighborhoods. They want to protect their community character, and
Makes sense.
we get that.
Yeah.
But there has to be a balance.
Of course.
We have to understand that our children are not going to be able to afford to live here
Yeah.
when they get out of college or get a job. And so we have to look ahead and make sure we're providing the kind of inventory that's going to house those people.
Yeah. So, what other things can be done to help with the housing crisis?
There's an entire laundry list of things we can do. Time is money. The more efficient government can be about processing permits and streamlining regulations, that helps. I touched on greater densities, allowing higher buildings in some places. There are some communities where you can't go above 2 or 3 stories. We have to look at a whole slew of creative solutions to these problems, because we can't just build houses the way we have forever. We've got to be creative, and so fewer height restrictions, more density, and maybe adding some land supply, and revisiting a lot of the regulations that are not necessarily protecting the environment.
Like the Growth Management Act?
That's right. That's right.
Is there something we can do with the Growth Management Act?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. We had a bill in Olympia this year that would put definitions on what minimum density would be. There is none. The Growth Management Act says you shall build to urban density. Doesn't say what that is.
Interesting.
So we're saying, let's put a number on that. As we were talking about before, let's get on the same page. What we're saying is, let's define what that is, and then we can go forward and be more successful.
Great.
Can I just mention on the Growth
Well, I guess I'll let
Management
you
Act?
talk a little bit, Patrick.
No,
Mike
no,
and I
no.
are having a private conversation over here, and you're
It's
just
wonderful.
buzzing in.
No, it's wonderful. But the Growth Management Act hasn't been updated for, 25, 26 years.
That's crazy.
And you consider what the population of the state of Washington was 25, 26 years ago, and what traffic looked like.
Yes.
Isn't it time that we relook at the Growth Management Act and update it based on where we are today and where we expect to be 10 years, 20 years from now?
Exactly. And Patrick, when really have they been talking about that, and how long of a process of a conversation has this been in play, and they're still not doing anything about it? I mean, is this kind of a new conversation that's coming in that we're getting in such crisis mode? Or I imagine that behind the scenes, there's been a conversation around this for a little bit of a while.
Yeah, that's a much better question for Mike.
How long have you guys been talking about this?
Every day for the last 25 years.
Yeah, really?
Oh, yeah. And so far, we've been making incremental progress on growth management issues. But the big issues, it's very hard to form consensus around.
Yeah.
There are some that would rather have their head in the sand, say, you know what, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to build more. Let people move somewhere else. But frankly, that's the wrong approach, because people are coming here. The high-paying jobs are here, and what we're seeing are people are moving further and further away. And you can see it on the freeway every day.
Yeah.
People are driving from Mount Vernon or Marysville to.
Well, we're going to talk about that with our next guest as well today.
That's right. So we can't ignore the problem anymore.
Yes.
So unfortunately, it's taking a crisis to get us to start talking, but we are, because people are no longer going to tolerate driving an hour and a half or even further each way to work.
Yes, yeah. So, Patrick, I mentioned just very briefly in Money Chat about condos, because, in a great market where there's money and there's people buying, we're used to actually seeing the condos go up. And I mean, there's really almost none to speak of. So can you share a little bit about what's happening with that?
Yeah, so there's some real issues with condominium liability.
Yeah.
And the liability issues themselves has really driven the reasonably priced condos out of the market, because our builders are just not going to build condos that are less than $1 million per unit and assume the liability that can potentially go with that.
Yeah.
And what that really means is the the association themselves, there can be a couple of people in a homeowners association, a condo association, who can decide to file a lawsuit. And it doesn't take the majority of the people in the condo to do it. It can take just a couple of people. And oftentimes what happens, it's a lawyer who's filing the suit.
Yes.
And yes, they may get damages. The builder doesn't have the opportunity to mitigate it all. And if they get damages, typically the damages don't cover the cost of fixing the problem, but it does put a lot of money in the hands of the attorney who files the suit. So until we resolve that kind of an issue, you're not going to see condominiums being built.
And that's causing the issue with the condo or the apartment conversions. I mean, also, you can make a lot of money in rent right now, but that's also an issue in compounding in the condo conversions as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Patrick, what is the Master Builders Association? Explain that to my listeners, what you guys do and what you're all about, because you're pretty magical. I mean, you guys are doing some really great stuff.
Well, thank you. So there's so much to the Master Builders Association. I mean, I can go on for 90 minutes.
We could have a whole show on this.
Oh, we could, yes.
Yes.
But we are the oldest home builders association in the country, which really kind of surprises me. You'd think it'd be Philadelphia or Boston or New York, but no, we started almost 110 years ago.
Impressive.
We are also the largest home builders association in the country, and we were formed primarily for the purposes of advocacy, of helping our elected and unelected officials understand the consequences of the decisions that they're about to make when they're talking about permitting fees or adding other fees. And so we want to make sure that we are trying to work in the best interests of the community to keep housing as affordable as possible.
Yeah.
We're a great resource for consumers who are looking for contractors. We do a lot of really exciting community service work. So you've heard of Rampathon that's coming up in about a month. This will be our 25th year of doing Rampathon. And this year we're expecting to do 50 wheelchair accessible ramps for free to members of our community.
And where is that compared to what you did last year?
Last year we did 43 or 44. So,
yeah. Awesome. And it is a great resource for business professionals to be able to connect at a high level, support each other, and which makes it great for consumers to have, like you said, that resource there. So a bubble. What do you think, Patrick? I mean, when someone says, "Are we in a bubble?" What's your answer?
As long as we're growing at the rate that we're growing, as long as we have as many people moving into the area as we have moving into the area, there's no bubble.
We're so far from it.
We're so far from
totally
it.
agree. So, Mike, what effect is Washington, D.C. having on housing? I mean, this could be a whole nother...
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed signals from D.C. Two things that have come up recently that really have our attention are tariffs. Cost of building materials affects housing, and it's not just wood products. We build the roads, we put in the pipes, we put in the sewers and developments. So that, the steel tariffs and all that, we're very concerned about. The numbers I've crunched show it could cost a home builder $10,000 to $15,000 additional per unit to build a home because of these tariffs. So that's one thing that we're paying very close attention to, and we're concerned about, and we're working to push back on because we can't afford it.
Yeah. So last question, as I take us to break here, Patrick, where do you see us in 5 years?
The housing industry?
Yeah.
Well, unless we make some significant changes to the way we're doing business right now, you're going to see more and more people moving farther and farther out, which is going to put more and more pressure on traffic. It's not going to be pretty 5 years from now. It's going to get increasingly difficult.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Patrick. People are going to move further and further out, and frankly, it could be as bad as our homeless situation gets worse. And there's a huge social impact. It's not just financial, the housing issues we talk about. So it's not just money. We're talking about people's lives, livelihoods, and having a place to live at all. So we're very serious about making headway because if we don't, there are serious consequences ahead. Yeah.
So a call to action for anybody that's listening, whether it's one of my business professionals, especially in the real estate space. We have a lot of real estate listeners. And for the consumers out there, what is a call to action?
The call to action is local government, be more efficient, make better use of your land, and don't constrict housing, because it is, as we all know, a basic human necessity. So that, we need to think of it that way.
Well said, Patrick.
Well, I think that we should be talking with our elected officials at the state level also to ask them to address the Growth Management Act and ask them to address condo liability reform. If we can get some progress on those two things, that will help significantly.
Agree. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming into studio. Look forward to having you back soon.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
And coming up at the Money Hour, if you can't afford to buy in the market, is it worth buying in a market? I have Mayanne Leif and Life Steffi with Remax on the Lake Northwest right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.